going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. And today we are out in the garage with Mom's JK Wrangler, and we are hopefully taking care of a kind of annoying thing that is kind of common with JKs, and that is actually going to be a stupidly cheap and simple fix. Now, what I'm talking about is the hood flutter. JK Wranglers and TJ Wranglers, for that matter, have a hood latch that is basically a piece of rubber holding that hood down between two plastic catches. Works great as it should, but the issue is as that rubber strap in between those two get tired with age, with wear, with being out in the sunlight, it turns into being a lot softer than it should be. So when you pass somebody on a two-lane road or a big, huge gust of wind as you're driving down the highway, all of a sudden you see your hood jump up and down. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but with very little effort, you're able just to pull the hood up off of its stops. And again, that's only just exaggerated when you're doing 80 mile an hour down the highway and a gust of wind pushes and it just lifts the whole front of the hood, and it's called hood flutter. So that's hopefully what we're taking care of today. Now, there are 10 million different aftermarket latches that you can buy for JK Wranglers. There's crazy, ridiculous metal ones with pins and bolts, and they all work like they should because they are a solid metal hood latch. I kind of, like I've always said, like the OEM Plus style, if you will. I kind of like the look of the factory latch. I don't want some big billet aluminum, latch with a lock and a lever, and if you have those, great, I'm sure they work well, but I've just had to mess with a lot of them that come into the shop when I need to do something under the hood and they're all rusted up and seized together, and they just, I don't like them personally. So that's why we are going with a replacement of the rubber latch here. Now, there are two companies that I know of that make the polyurethane replacements. Daystar, which is a pretty big name in the Jeep world, and then in my research, I found these Control JK hood latches. It was even a cheaper alternative from the Daystar, but they either are a Daystar knockoff or just another company making them. Found these on eBay for like really, really cheap. These were marked as an open box item, even though they're sealed closed. So with shipping, I was in at like $10. So I wanted to give them a try to see how well they worked. I, again, have messed with a bunch of the Daystar latches, and some of them are almost a little bit too tight. You really have to snap that down, which is good, but I've also seen some of them pulling the hood down and rubbing on the fender. So I wanted to give these random ones that I found a try, and that's what we're going to be doing here today. So we need to get the factory hood catch rubber latch things off, and then we will be swapping to these polyurethane ones that come with new pins. So guys, again, here is our amount of, with very little effort, I'm able just to open the hood. So these, even though they still have some decent snap to them, they're just getting tired with age. So to get these out, I believe all you have to do is grab each side of this plastic pin, give it a twist, and it kind of breaks the clip inside of it. So we are going to grab one side with some vice grips here and see if we can't just grab the other side. And again, give it a twist. Like that. And we've got one end of the pin and the other. So yeah, that works extremely well once you actually get a grip on those two pieces. So holding one side and twisting the other, we get the snap, and then you can pull that pin out. Now this side, we're going to need to be a little bit cautious since we are actually near some paint. But again, that works really well. And now we've got the factory rubber piece out of this thing that again is a little bit tired, a little bit stretched and worn. So in our package here, again, the Daystar is going to literally be identical to these Control brand. We've got the new replacement pieces, and then we've got our metal screws that will, replace what we just broke with our plastic pins. So these are a little two-piece design that has a thread and then the screw. So those will then be our new pins to replace the ones that we broke coming apart. So just to compare these things, well, I think half the issue is the hole is extremely wallowed out. I don't really know how well that's coming through on camera, but the hole is really, really wallowed out. And boy, those are way shorter. So I'll be interested to see how tightly this does hold the hood down. Now you do have a top and bottom to these things. The bottom is the one that has the flat versus the nice round on the top. And if you care like I do, only one side has their little company logo. I'm going to be placing that inside so you can't see it, again, just to kind of make it look even more stock than having a company's logo hanging out there. Now it does say in the instructions they want you to put a little dab of Loctite on this thing as you're assembling. I am going to hold off for now because I just want to make sure that these are going to be as loose or tight as I want. Now my thought is if these are too tight, like I've seen some of the Daystars that are really tight, I am going to myself wallow this hole out to make it a little bit longer to relieve a little bit of pressure on the hood. But again, we'll see how these go for a while before I do any mods to my hood latches, and we will just run it as they are supposed to be to start with. All right, so here's the moment of truth, is how ridiculously tight these are going on, and goodness gracious, yeah, they're pretty darn tight. Yeah, they're probably tighter than I'd want them to be. Again, it is winter here in Wichita. It's like 20 degrees outside, so maybe we'll kind of keep an eye on it for a while and see, but yeah, those are pretty darn tight. But now we can see with those new latches in place, I can no longer lift the hood at all. It is very solid. So that thing is not going to go anywhere now with these new latches. All right guys, so I know this is going to be a little counterproductive sounding, but I am going to try on this side, which I will then do on the other side if I like the results, is opening up one of these holes just a teeny bit bigger to basically make this a little bit longer so that latch is not held as tightly. I've just seen, again, some of them come into the shop where this piece has been broken because of those aftermarket Daystars that are holding them so darn tightly down that it has bent these bottom two little tabs, either broken them off or bent them where they are not holding correctly. So I'm drilling this out to relieve a little bit of pressure. Again, I know this is very counterproductive to holding the hood down, but I'm trying to relieve a little bit of pressure for this latch to hopefully live a lot longer life. So again, I've just got a larger drill bit and I'm just running it through, trying to wallow or open that hole up just a little bit more to get us a little bit more room. If it feels better, I'll obviously go over and do it on the other side. All right, so this side should in theory be slightly less horrible. We'll see. It's still real tight. So yeah, I could probably wallow the holes a little bit more, or just maybe wait for the polyurethane to stretch just a little bit. But anything's got to help on making it not just ever so tight. Well guys, so for pretty darn cheap and for like 5 minutes of your time, and it would probably be even quicker if you weren't talking to a camera, your JK hood cannot be fluttering going down the road. This thing feels, yeah, very solid. So I did end up taking a drill bit and drilling out, I ended up taking both of them all the way back off, drilling out both of the holes just a little bit larger with a drill bit and basically making those holes a little bit larger to in turn make that latch a little bit longer and have a little less pressure on all of these plastic pieces. So we'll see once it's the summer and it's 105 degrees and this polyurethane has some heat on it, maybe I will regret doing that if we do have a little bit of hood flutter, but I can only imagine that this is going to be 10 times firmer than the tired plastic hood latches were on this thing. So I'm excited for Mom to not have a fluttering hood going down the road, because even she was kind of noticing it and going, hey, well, is my hood not latched? What's the deal? So for cheap, go jump on eBay, go buy some Daystar or some Kintrol brand hood latch replacements and have your very OEM looking fix for your JK hood flutter. Now what is up next for Mom's JK? If you guys notice here, we've got a JL front bumper on this thing. That's because I am been for the longest time working on her metal bumper that came with this thing. It had a aftermarket winch bumper with a hoop, but it was a kind of a less than desirable full width bumper. I didn't love the look of it, so I have been slowly, when I have time working, I am cutting that bumper down, making it a stubby bumper, and then it's going to get welded back together, and then she'll have her cool winch bumper with the grill hoop and all the cool things again. So she's been running this JL Rubicon plastic bumper just because it was $0 and to have something on the front of this Jeep. So guys, next time you see this thing, we'll hopefully be modifying that bumper. And until then guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.